the command module.
Hello, special humans, and welcome to Imagination TV. My name is Saahil, and I'm delighted to be your co-host today. I am a president at AIME who hopes to work towards and achieve a sense of equilibrium and equality in the world that surrounds us today. I have been grateful to work alongside my inspirational peers this year and recruit mentors to head out to tutor squads to work towards that shared dream of ours at AIME to alleviate educational inequality. We have such a beautiful episode in store today, but before I go any further, I'd like to ground ourselves in the lands that we're on today. Wherever we are around the world, let's take a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. And I'm zooming in from Dharawal country, and I'd like to acknowledge the elders past, present, and emerging. Today, we're exploring the gift of time and hoodie economics. To quote Professor Asterix, economics is simply the study of exchange of what human beings see as valuable. Value can be assigned to anything, from actions to objects to experiences, from learning harpsichord to pomegranates. Economics tracks the marketplace of exchange. So what is hoodie economics? It's an idea? No, let's scrap that. It's a way of life, and it's not driven by money, but instead by a drive from moral calling. It is focused on a beautiful goal of removing inequality for the kids that have been marginalized most by this world. Hoodie economics welcomes all to share their imagination, knowledge, tools, opportunities, skills, snacks, dance, moves, and time. I'm joined by my co-host today, who has taught me how to respect and admire the ideology of time. And the gift of time is one of the mental values at the core of AIME philosophy. Mentors give their time to mentees, mentees give their time to mentors. And it is through the gift of time that we, as citizens of the world, can build those unlikely connections between one another. Time is all about being open and making space for respecting one another, learning, and active listening. I am excited to get the show started, as we are all on the Zoom call today. Anything you'd like to add, Jack?
No, just happy to be here, man. You've sort of blitzed that start, so should I just take a very significant backseat, or maybe I can pick it up and run from here? Is that a good vibe?
No, it's all you. All you.
I want to play too. Oh, Professor Hope, you joined us. Yes, I have. I love that you quoted Asterix, Professor Asterix. He gets lots of quotations. I mean, the most cited researcher in Imagination University is Professor Asterix, I think, because economics sits next to his title. But what about me, the Professor of Imagination, We can codify economics. We can put a hoodie in front of it. Everyone's like, yeah, of course. Hoodie economics. But imagination, that's another ballgame. We'll have to talk more about that next time, Saahil, perhaps.
Definitely. Looking forward to it.
So as we head through today, thanks for dropping in, Hope. We're going to kick it through a few different lenses. And as Saahil was sort of talking about, like the fascinating and inspiring thing about life on Earth for human beings is we actually do have a little bit of control over what we do with our life and how we spend our time, how we spend our knowledge, how we energetically engage with each other. And we can get intimidated by the idea of changing the world because it can feel like Mars or some concept that isn't on Earth. And changing the world can always start, and it always happens, with the way that we approach our energy into the network with each other and how we move. So today we're going to kick it with a few different people. Hope I might let you go and have a bit of a stretch or a rest. I'd love to do that. Gosh, it's so hard to stay still and listen to this guy blabber on all the time. All right, I'll see you soon. So we're going to go in straight away and do some fashion designing. We've been sort of really interested in what happens if you kind of try and activate the cloth that we wear. So he'll like that hoodie you're wearing, that's an earned hoodie. That's one that over time, after being a mentor and like spending all this time and energy with people, that becomes activated. Has anyone ever had activated almonds? Matt, I think we've got you here from Wimberley High. Have you ever eaten an almond and an activated almond and noticed any difference?
Well, I don't think so, no.
Me either. I think it might be a fraud, that one. But I think activating a hoodie potentially is a little less fraudulent if you think about the energy and the action that comes into it, as opposed to maybe fast fashion and buying something really quickly from a supplier that's manipulated your psychology, tried to make you feel less worthy about yourself, played with your body image, and then made you try and buy something really quickly by having a counter on some website that says 7 people are going to buy this thing now. I don't know if that's a soulful garment that has a lot of action to it. It's transactional, but I think there's a whole suite of what we wear and how we dress and what we carry with us and the stories that our cloth can carry. And we're really excited about what we can do with hoodies and with our apparel range to kind of keep building it. So Matt and Michaela Lawson we've got with us as well from Sylvania High, who are going to join us for the next section. Michaela, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. Are you ready to be a fashion designer? We're going to look at some of the stuff that we haven't used yet in AIME's land of designs. And we've got two of our designers with us. Scotty for his debut on Imagination TV. Scott Leonard, how are you?
Good, Jack. Thanks for having me.
And Benny Single coming in from Mexico, who's been picking up a lot of the apparel design for us and trying to bring together all of the kids' artworks into this form. How you feeling, Benny?
Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, let's pull up the designs of what we've had in the past. We're going to go for 5 minutes, and the game's called Stop, Tell Me If You Like It. So if you see something that you like, you've got to point it out, and then we'll talk about it and we'll see if we're going to make it next year. So scan your eyes through that, and if you see something, say stop if you like it. So over to you, Matt, Michaela, Scott, Benny. We're just going to keep moving. Yell out.
Organizing change.
Okay, where's that one?
Well, on my screen, it's the middle left.
Yeah. We're zooming in. I think that's like a pastel-y sort of. Tell me what you like about that, Benny.
I like the colors. I think they're primary colors based on like a pink background that they always work. And I love the shapes. It's very Moreau. And I love the message, organizing change. I think it's very cute. I'd rock that every day.
Now, does anyone not like it of our crew? Matt, Michaela, Scott, it's always good to have conflict in design.
You know,
I
think
like it.
Yeah, I actually quite like the simplistic design. You know, it's simple, but it does get that message across. If that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. What is let's zoom out and let's keep moving around, and we'll see what else sort of grabs the eye.
Stop.
Which one?
It's on the bottom. It's the black and white with the hearts.
Oh yeah. Let's go into that one. And
Yeah,
then if you're watching this on the chat line, feel free to say stop and tell us what you like on the chat line, and we'll try and bring in as well. Go, Michaela. Tell me about it.
I just like how it's like with the hearts and how like it stands out.
We designed this with we're kind of trying to search for like what could be a symbol of our apparel line. And Dan Single is joining us later on. Had just started working with us, and we're exploring this idea of questioning everything, like really trying to just look behind the why of stuff. And then I was talking to my partner, and we were kind of playing with question marks. And my partner Yael sort of said, "What if you put the love heart, like put two question marks together and make a love heart?" And so that's what, then this dropped in with our team, and Scotty and Dan had to play and the crew, and we ended up with this shape. And so we're trying to have this as like I suppose, like a subtle reminder in the work. Like it doesn't always have to be like up front as the big thing, but a little reminder that we should keep questioning everything, but with love, and have that as something that we're trying to drive through how we engage with stuff. So awesome. Yeah, let's zoom out again and we'll have a look at a couple more and see if there's something else that we really dig.
Stop.
Yep, go for it. Which one?
The yellow kindness tee there, if you could zoom in.
Yeah.
So I just love, I love the design. I love, I think in this day and age, the world could use a little more kindness, and being the first day of summer, I think yellow tea is kind of fitting. So I'm all for this design and this tea.
Yeah, awesome, Scotty. Yeah, I'm really, we've just had we've got 20 kindness hoodies that we've shared around the world for 20 people to start 365 days of kindness. So they're wearing the hoodie for a week, and then they're passing it on for a week, and we're going to see how much kindness those hoodies can create over a year. And then we're going to create a kindness range with a mashup of all of their hoodies put together, and then auction off the 20 hoodies if they make it back to us or send them on. But perhaps this one lands as part of a kindness collection for us, Scotty, when we do that. All right, last one to pick. Zoom out.
Should I go again?
If you've got one, yeah.
I love the black hoodie, the Basquiat-ish kind of style. I love it.
Yeah.
I always love white illustrations on black background, like, the kind of blackboard kind of vibe from when you're at school.
Yeah,
Looks like chalk. I think it's a really cool vibe.
I
And
love that.
clearly, it's heading in a positive direction. Kindness, love hearts. AIM's got game. I need glasses to read everything.
Yeah, that's great. I think we've got it covered. Well, that rounds out our fashionista section. So what we'll have a go at doing is Matt, Michaela, Scott, Benny, we're going to spin up an activation range in January. And so we might put those 4 up as a made to order items that if people want to, we order 20, we'll make them. And maybe we can share your stories as designers as to why you wanted to put it out there. And you can share a little quote about what stood out to you. So thanks for joining us, and we'll try and make them a reality in January. So there you go, Matt and Michaela. You just became fashion designers that made things real, maybe.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us on the show, crew.
Pleasure.
All righty, we're gonna whip into a 60-second challenge. Today's a very special day for us. We're launching our first ever op shop. So we've been working with a bunch of different fashion brands, a bunch of different beautiful people who have done things in their life that are really, really meaningful to them. And particularly looking at people who have worked in fashion and storytelling and thinking about this idea of opportunity. Like, what is the thing that made your opportunity? What is the thing that kind of got you going? Because we often look at people who are like, I don't know, famous or the big designers or whatever, and it can seem like it's impossible to ever get there. So Saahil, we're about to hang out with a few different people who have donated to the op shop, which I think hopefully the website's live now, and people can jump on and follow that. So we'll have links in the chat room, and there's a mail out that's gone from the AIME mailing list, and we'll be sharing that over the coming days with everybody. But Saahil, what do you think about op shops as a concept?
I hadn't ever heard of op shops before until I heard Brendo talk about it, and I was like, this is pretty sick thing that's going on, especially for a really good cause, that you get this item at the end that that money is going somewhere, and it'll be useful. But hadn't ever heard about it before. Excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think there's like my broad understanding of opportunity shops is a lot of them kickstarted through religious frameworks as a way of sort of building support for welfare and outreach support. And a lot of the early nonprofit sectors sort of spun out of religious institutions. And what we've seen in the last sort of, probably 20, 30 years is different vintage shops and different op shops, recycling secondhand materials. What I'm excited about our one is from what we can see, it's like one of the few potentially global op shops that exists around the world, with the caveat of a pretty curious curation, because we like unlikely connections. We're going to hear from Dan Single, who's with us, who works with us as a creative director on a lot of our design stuff, but Dan had a earlier life working with a brand called Subi. And so you could have, Subi jeans meet Tyson Yunkaporta, who's going to be donating his carvings from Sandtalk, meets MJ Bale. We're going to have a chat to Rainbow from MJ Bale in a second, and then bouncing over to, an artist in Mexico. It's sort of an interesting intersection when you get beautiful people giving their souls and energy to it. So I'm hopeful that this op shop is just a destination that people can go to for meaningful, soulful shopping, and guaranteed it'll be a bit different when you get to meet some of the people. So the first person we're going to kick it with in our 60-second op shop challenge, who's a part of donating a product, is Brenden Newton. Brendo, what the heck are you donating? And tell us a story about it.
Oh, thanks, Jack. I'm donating something really special, almost serendipitous, where it's traveled with me. I grew up as a bodyboarder, riding waves. But over the 20 years I rode waves, I gave all my boards away. And then when this op shop idea emerged, I remembered a board that was sitting in my loft, and I pulled it down and I looked at it. I thought, holy moly, what is this? I've kept this for a reason. And I thought, how about I put it in the op shop? And the story behind it is, when I reached the apex of my professional bodyboarding career, we went 15 Ks out to sea and found a whole new wave. And I surfed 3 waves that day on that particular board, and one which sent me to hospital to the surgeon's table for 63 stitches. Now, this isn't a story of heroics. It's a story that had some heart to it, because what we were doing on that particular trip was trying to motivate a lot of people around the world bodyboarding to, I suppose, tap into that metaphysical where they could trust that their lives would be okay, particularly considering a lot of the Aboriginal kids I was spending time with at the time. So yeah, this is the wave on this particular magazine here. And some say it was the most dangerous wave ever paddled into in history. But for me, this board is a perfect token to say our privileged comfort is not the most important thing in the world. Sharing is more important. So that's why I'm sort of donating it to this cause.
And I remember, Brendo, when I first met you for your AIME interview almost 8 years ago or so, I think for your first like grown-up job or something, because that sort of is that roughly the deal? One of the things that just stayed with me, and I sat on the other side of a bunch of interviews over the last 18 years, was I just thought, if this guy can ride one of the biggest waves in the world, he can do anything. And I think we get lost in learning patterns. We think that incremental learning, or whether we pass that test, or whether we get a response from something we wrote a day ago, or whether what we posted on social media has a lot of likes. It's about the bigness of the ambition. And we've got something we sort of said to kids since the beginning, that if you shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you land amongst the stars. Now, over the last 8.5 years, you've had a number of different obstacles in your professional journey to overcome. But one of the things which I know that you can always go back to is you rode that wave, like you went for it and you pushed yourself off. And I think if we can be brave enough to jump, we can learn how to fly. But it is very scary to make that jump. But once you learn how to jump, you can get moving. And so thanks so much for your generosity. The energy you bring into AIME's world all the time is huge. But this is it really touched me when you said you were going to do this, because I think about, a board sitting in a loft with sentimental value that you never really look at. But what it means when you then give that away is saying, eventually I'm not going to be here, and I'm willing to let things go and share that joy of my life with other people while I'm here, and hopefully make some good from it. So thanks for your generosity with this donation. And we're going to spin up a raffle with it, and people will be able to head to the website at shop.aimementoring.com and get out and either buy a raffle ticket to win I think we're doing 5 hoodies at a certain level if you make a donation. And if you make a donation at the highest level, you go into the running to win Brendo's board and have that piece of history in your house. So good on you, Brendo.
Thanks, Jacko.
All right, Dan Single and Sarah, tell us what the heck you guys are bringing into the game. Tell us a bit about yourselves and why you're contributing to the op shop.
Who's going
first? Dan.
Dan, you go first.
Okay, so we are donating a painting that we created together, and Sarah and I reconnected when I moved back to Australia. I guess it was 2 years now. And have a mutual passion for creativity and art and helping, obviously. So we just on a lifetime quest to do art projects and fun creative things together. And this is one of our first things we ever made. And then when the op shop came up, I said, hey, I know that we love our painting, but do you mind if we donate to the op shop? And she goes, that is the best thing I've heard. So
awesome.
Sarah can talk now. I get nervous on the screen.
Tell us about it, Sarah.
Well, I guess the story behind the art, it's actually 2 pretty large scale pieces of art. I think it's 1.5 by 1 meter. And the thing I love about art is I believe that when you make something, you put a little bit of your soul into it. And not only did I make it, but Dan and I made it together. So it's pretty special. And like you said, it was one of the first things that we ever made together. And we did it with our hands. We got our hands dirty. We splattered paint onto the canvas. We moved the paint around the canvas with our hands, and we got very dirty. And there was no paintbrushes, just purely just energy moving on the canvas. And so, the epic thing about art is it's a commodity as well. So it's not one of those things that's just going to be here 1 minute and in landfill the next. It's going to hopefully be passed down through generations or sold on or whatever. So we thought it would be a good addition to the op shop.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And thanks for your help with letting people know about it as well. It's I think being able to excite people to walk into the doorway of this little world that we play in, trying to bring good energy to people's lives all the time is huge. So Thanks so much, Sarah.
No, I think it's amazing what you guys are doing, and I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, dope. Awesome. Well, thanks for dropping into the show and joining us. And Dan, tell us a little bit about the Subi donations and a bit about your Subi story before we let you go.
Oh, okay. I moved back to Australia a couple of years ago. I was always back and forth, but I ended up getting like 2, 3, 4 storage containers out of storage that had been there maybe for 10 years, and a lot of it had boxes of the old Subi samples, and I realised about all the history that we had made during the time. There's like, not to say that anyone's the first of anything, because everyone borrows an idea from someone, but there was a few things that we were kind of known to be doing before other people, and one of them was digital printing silk t-shirts, and it's been like a trend that's been carried on after. But we did a fashion week show 2007 where we had a friend of ours, Erin Lawson, a model from the States, quite big at the time, came out, and we made a top especially for her, this digital printed crazy color explosion of a galaxy. And I have the original shirt we hand sewed, printed in Sydney at Think Positive Prints, and it's got a few rips and nice, but it's like the OG before I'd seen anything like that. So I found that, and I thought that would be quite a special item.
And before we let you go, why do you want to share that?
Oh, just like I had such great experiences, have a fun action, adventure, beauty, sadness, heartbreak filled life that I got these opportunities through starting this fashion brand that I got to do with my best friends, and me getting to travel the world and meet all these people. It's just the experience I got from it is like got me to where I am now. So I'd like to get other kids to have the same experience that I did. And if this can help get some money to raise money for the program and the work that we do, then all for it. I'll donate all my stuff.
Awesome, Dan. Well, I'll take you up on that. You donate all your stuff. That's said live on air. If everyone just keeps a record of that for the next season of the Op Shop in March, we're going to have a full original Subi range. Thanks for joining us, Dan. Thanks, Sarah. And then Rainbow from MJ Bale, can you tell us a little bit about why you guys are excited to be a part of this and what MJ Bale is contributing?
Yeah, I mean, we have had a long-term relationship with you guys over the past years, and we have collaborated on many occasions, which were huge, successes. So we really love to continue actually supporting your organization. We believe that you guys are doing something very, special and very beautiful. So we actually donated very special products from our company, and probably, our proudest product, I would say, 3 Kingston suits, Harvey, Cameron, and Sinclair. We say they're special not because, they're made from the world's best, super merino wool. I'm saying that is because there is a very touching story behind that. 2 Australian entrepreneurs who actually, sat at a table in Italy, probably about 5-6 years ago, talking about how they could have made a difference to the world. So the pursuit, what they're talking about, Cameron is actually the owner of Kingston Farm. It's a natural grasslands. He produces, the world's best merino wool, but it's not really about producing, the best wool. It's actually more about that he was more concerned about how, he dedicated his life actually to maintaining the landscape and enhancing the biodiversity and the natural values of that land. So the 2 men got together, and that's how we actually got the most beautiful Kingston suits. Every single suit that we sell, there's a percentage that goes back to Cameron directly to allow him to reinvest in those projects to enhance the value, to enhance basically the natural value of the Kingston land. So to me, I looked at, actually I was in the trip with Matt at the end of April, and we were on the hilltop of Kingston Farm, and I witnessed the 2 revegetation patch that our donation went to. So what I was thinking when I was standing on the hilltop was, they're only 800 square meters each, and the whole Kingston Farm, it's around, I wrote this down, 3,121 hectares. And, I was thinking to myself, wow, what does that mean for everyone else? To me, it is the best example of how doing our part, no matter how small it is, we can make a difference. So we're really donating a determination. We're donating a dream, and we're donating a value, and of MJ Bale.
that's I think that's the key for us with curating this op shop, is to make sure there's soul and there is a story and there's energy behind it, because I think then when we activate with intention the things we create, and we're really thinking about, I hung out with Dr. Jane Goodall back in the last year, or just before, back in the last year. Wow, it's been a funny year. And we talked about systems, and Jane gave our first ever lecture for our university, Imagination University, and she gave a lecture on imagination. And Jane said, look, the challenge with what we're facing and what we're looking at with climate challenges is every intervention has to take the biggest possible systems view, because every action has a series of unintended consequences. And if we can do our best to try and zoom out and think about our role in an ecosystem and the energy we're bringing the whole way through, without trying to take too much or compete too much to make sure other people miss out, but finding ways to find our path and then have some of that sharing of energy and follow with that commitment, as you said, then we have an interesting ball game on our hands for the future. So we're excited to see what we can do with all sorts of different people from all sorts of walks of life, and see what we can kind of build together. So thanks for joining us, Rainbow, and being part of the show.
Thanks, Jack.
All right, crew, we're going to keep moving, and we're moving into our panel now. So if anyone wants like a short break, if you're watching the screen and feeling a little bit bored, if you look over to your right and then look up and then close your eyes just for like 1 second, the screen just got a whole lot more interesting. Okay, I've got a quiz for you. Who invented imagination?
Albert Einstein.
How do you train imagination? Who are the best beings at being able to take us into an imaginative state? Have a think about that. All right, on to the next segment. All right, we're going into a hoodie economics panel now. So we're going to take a moment to just zoom out and just think about, as Saahil so well put at the start, Saahil, like those ideas of exchanges of time. And what have you seen so far this year as you've kind of been working with people and trying to, convince university students to engage in a different currency? They're not necessarily be volunteers or not necessarily be paid, but to just like kick it and share some time with some people and share some knowledge. What's been some of your experiences so far this year?
Yeah, good question. It's been becoming a mentor 2018. I really enjoyed the fact that I was able to put in time, and then at the end of the year or towards the end of it, after I've given a few hours or nearly 10 hours of mentoring to students, I was given this hoodie by Brenden, and it was just like, wear it around, represent what you're doing, represent who become a part of you, kind of means more to you than just buying something from a shop or something like that. But this year,
I love at the start, Saahil, I love what you said about that, because you just mentioned they're giving your time. The mentees are giving their time. And I think we often get like ideas of mentoring wrong, that it's some like hero and someone who's struggling, like, Matt's got as much to offer you or me or anyone else. But when we kind of can move like a seesaw a little bit in relations, and there's a lot of Indigenous familial mapping systems which would set us up for really smart ways, because you have your niece can be your auntie and your uncle can be your nephew. And so suddenly you can be moving back and forwards between generational hats. And in doing that, we're exchanging knowledge in different ways. We're kind of finding ways to tip the time back and forward, if that makes sense. So it's not about I helped the poor person or the poor person really needs me or whatever. Like, there is no poor person. There are different measurements. And when we move the measurements, we move the intelligence and we move the pathways for exchange. So I think it's a good time to bring James in. James, thanks for joining us on the panel. Tell us about your educational experience journey and what you've found so powerful about, those connections with people, those relational connections.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Connections are so important. If you ever believe in determinism, in other words, where you're born is really determine where you're going, I shouldn't be here. I was a kid who was pretty good at sports. That got me out of a space where my family just wanted something better for us. So I went to school, played some sport. But then while I was there, my family also, really important about family relations, gave me that belief that you could achieve anything. And that just opened up this opportunity to just dare to push yourself as far as you go. They say life begins at the end of your comfort zone, and that's what I've just lived my whole life. and education, and really it's learning, not being scared to go forward and fail fast. That's really create those opportunities and the gifts of the people along the way that share and open up their insights and help you find your way when you get stuck. Those mentors like Brendo, we just heard about them with Saahil along the way, that when you're at that decision point, find that right person who's often an unlikely connection. As I said, one of my most challenging and invigorating space where I was sort of down a little bit, and I run into a guy I was Victorian. He was from Sydney. I ended up in India, teacher education. But then he connected me to a guy in Africa, and then we created this project that ended up connecting Kenya to South Africa and all the countries in between, just through unlikely connections and a belief in yourself that's instilled by your family, your friends, and those mentors you meet along the way.
I think that moment that you talk about when you're like, you make that big leap or you push yourself or I had this like trippy session about 7 years ago where I was trying to work out my life and what to do and blah, blah, blah. And I've always had, I learned early on, like in that AIM journey, about 5 years in, still not early enough, that maybe I should get mentors for myself and I should get a coach, and I could kind of, start mapping some thinking for myself. And anyway, this one guy was like, look, I don't know how this will land, but this guy does an intensive, like one-on-one, you go away like in remote or rural Victoria, and you have 1-2 days with this guy. Do you want to go and hang out with him? I was like, okay, whatever. So I drove down. It was like the last day of the year in December, and I hung out with this guy, and I thought maybe I might get murdered, but I didn't, which was good. And he took me to this like remote location in this like remote beach with cliffs everywhere, and pulled out 2 chairs. We carried down the chairs and we sat down, and he was silent the whole time we were walking down. And he looked at me, and I'm looking at this huge sort of like, environment around me, and the waves crashing. And he said, okay, Jack, why are you here on this planet? And I couldn't laugh it off. Like, and I liked going deep, but it was just really, and that was what he stayed with me on. And we sort of shaped this mission statement. And, I ended up saying, don't be afraid of greatness, embrace it. Don't ever stop pushing the limits of human potential. And then don't ever stop loving, laughing, dreaming, and believing, and having that as sort of like my tombstone piece. Now, one of the things which I have done is I have pushed the limits of human potential, and at times I've crashed. And that's meant that I've had to kind of find ways back from that darkness place into like a new energy and sort of move through that. So, Josh, I'm fascinated about how we go to the edge and teeter there, and then kind of still function, I'd love you to reflect on that for a moment. Tell us a bit about your story.
Yeah, cool. Oh, wow, what a question. Look, I'm coming to you from Yamaji country, so I just wanted to say where I am, Geraldton Way, Midwest WA. It's a beautiful morning here, and thank you for bringing me onto the show today. Being on the edge. I mean, some of these discussions I've been listening to, I've been just sitting here getting my mind blown the whole time. For anyone who doesn't know me, I kind of compete competitively on a bodyboard at the world kind of championship level. I've done that for a few years. I used to kick it with Brendo, but I was never as mad as him. I never pushed myself as deep as him, but I feel like, and I also have this role as CEO for Surfers for Climate today, and had a whole journey in between from being a bodyboarder, kind of chasing a dream there like Brendo did, to then going on to, focus on my education, focus on how I could make an impact in the world. And that took me into the sustainability space. And that's where I've kind of dabbled in the last few years. Getting on the edge, like in the surfing space, like there's an analogy that's the best fit for this is like, you can sit on the shoulder and you won't really get anything special. But if you go into the impact zone where all the risk is, where all the dangers are, that's where all the big rewards are. And I feel like as it's a performance art, bodyboarding. It's this kind of expression of yourself, but all of your abilities in one moment, particularly when you're competing at that high level. And you get the best results.
Doesn't it hurt, Josh? Like that's the thing. Like it hurts, right? Like you literally knowingly putting yourself. So yes, I don't know what 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10, or if you're really good, maybe 1 out of 3 waves you crush. Like you get it, you're on. But the other two, like for somewhere between 66% to like 90% of your effort, you are putting yourself into a pain zone. How do you then train your brain to know that, like, to go into pain and then to work through pain and still want to go through pain? How do you do that? How do we do that? Why do we do that?
It's just the potential result is too good. You know, like it's a great feeling when you win at this. It's a great feeling when you complete that ride from, you know, you get in that flow state where everything works, and it's years and years and years of practice, and it becomes intuitive, but it's all learned. I don't think it's like special. I don't think it comes from anywhere else. It's all inside of us, and we just realize it in that moment. It's a very special expression, but I just think the potential to feel that good feeling is what takes us through that pain and that risk, and it's always worth it.
There's a dope interview with the Dalai Lama from last year, about middle of the year, like as COVID was really raging its first sort of beginning waves, and he kind of, you know, got interviewed around effectively the meaning of life, like, which must be a pretty tough gig for him to always just be like, so meaning of life. But he did sort of distill it in one thing. He said it's effort. And I think that's kind of, whether it's pain or pleasure, the effort sustains. If you put the effort in, the reward's kind of the bonus, but the effort teaches us things. Lily, tell us a little bit about your world, and particularly the playground you've sort of been wandering into with creating art, because that whole game is just effort, right? It's never finished, and at some point you need to stop it and stop yourself. But how do you balance going to the edge, the effort you put into a work, and then understanding energetically when it's kind of complete?
Like for me, I feel like art is always developing. So like I'm pushing myself to the edge, but I'm learning from those experiences and how to, you know, improve my artworks and have also conceptual meaning, if you know what I mean. I'm just trying to figure out how to word this.
Yeah, you got time.
Yeah, what Josh said, the end result is like, you know, worth it. Really, if I'm benefiting and promoting a message that I believe in, as, you know, oh God, I can't figure out how to word this, sorry.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, I think one of the things with, like, that I found, because I've been painting for the last 4 years as well, and been able to now comfortably say I'm an artist without being freaked out with saying those titles, even though my mum's a baller artist and been a visual artist forever. And I have found the gift of art to escape perfectionism. So much like I came from an athlete background, and I was rewarded for perfect scores or perfect games, or that was a sort of pursuit. And I think the beauty of paint, as Sarah was talking to, or Dan were talking to, like, is it's your energy. Like, there can be technique, but it's your energy. And if you fail, there actually isn't any failing. It's just an experience. And I think when we can release ourselves from perfection, failure, and in that sort of triangle, that's sort of like a pyramid that we then have judgment at the top of. We kind of, you know, success, failure, and then judgment. If we can get rid of those from our life, then you get to have freedom. And then I think that opens up more fluidity with the way we relate to each other. But yeah, how have you navigated failure as you're kind of, and thinking about failure and perfectness in your painting?
Yeah, like I am a perfectionist, so I do fear failure a lot, but I mean, art doesn't have to be perfect, and it's your interpretation of whatever you're making the artwork about. But, you know, it's taken a while for me to learn that, which, you know, through trial and error, and even just through the support of people around me, especially like the Indigenous staff members at my high school who, you know, support me and help me. You know, there's like comfort in that, and that failure is okay, as it's just a step towards, you know, the final goal.
And your relational, that relational energy of those people that kind of anchor us, like, I mean, you can fly to outer space if you've got a pathway back. If you've got one or two people that are like, that's a safe space for you, and they don't even need to say it's good or it's bad, just that we've got some love and energy for you and just value as person, then the things we do become just the things we do, not us, which I think is important as well. We might actually have a couple of your artworks, Lily, that we might share for the crew to have a look at. And James, what's what do you reckon is the thing that you have unlearned the most from the beginning of your education journey to where you are now?
I think that's a really nice point around perfectionism. Learning, actually embrace the learning and embracing change. I had to unlearn that perfectionist piece, like yourself from the sporting background, unlearn to take things personally. Sometimes you get feedback about things you're trying and the projections of other people's perceptions rather than the reality you're living. And I think unlearning that you think you've got it all worked out. Like as they say, the younger you were, and Churchill said, no, it wasn't until I was 21 until I realized how much I didn't know. And I think that's the key thing, always open to learn, and there's a new experience somewhere. That's the unlearning, that it's all, we've got it all worked out, because we haven't, and we're not living unless we get into a space where we have to work something out. As you said, we have to work at it and be.
Yeah, we don't have to, do we? Like, I mean, the idea that any one person, we've been sort of kicking around our knowledge fields like imagination, building bridges, hoodie economics, flipping the script, organizing change and mentoring, and asking our teams, like, what would you score yourselves out of 100 on this? And the first time we did it with our team, like a small crew, everyone gave themselves like 85 out of 100 for imagination and 90 out of 100 for organizing change. And I gave myself like 10. Like, no way I'm getting near 20, like even a life pursuit in imagination. For like, if I get to 20 out of 100, that'd be a huge like body of work. So I think being able to release yourself from the fact that nothing's ever going to be complete. It's always going to be drafting. And we have to hand it on. I think the failing in some of our human thinking has been because capital has sort of synced in with knowledge, we've stopped the movement of knowledge moving more freely between each other. And sometimes people hold it and go, well, that's my research paper, or this is my expertise, or this is my thing that gets my job moving. And we all go. So unless we learn how to get rid of it, that knowledge while we're here, and hopefully do it joyfully, then we lose all of this intelligence every generation. It's such a waste.
Well, that's what I love about this concept of the op shop, that everything's a gift. And what I heard before, that there was a story linked to each of the gifts. And that's within that story, there's knowledge. And often it's a story of wayfinding, finding a way, which is the mentoring piece. And really the whole concept of public good, or goods that we trade for a purpose, actually contributes to a public good, which can't be traded, it's just something that's handed on and freely available to all. I think that's a really cool piece. And so bringing all that together and grabbing the stories around that. And sorry, the last thing I'd unlearn is actually to turn the volume up. In other words, turn the volume down on that negative self-talk. You always get to that spot. I'm sure, Brenda, you had it when you were sitting on that wave thinking, really, should I be here or not? Turn the volume down on doubt, I think, is a really cool thing to learn.
Yeah, we had, it was one of my first lessons from my partner was, I used to just be like, swear at myself, like, to motivate. It's not good enough, Jack. Like, get up. Like, the same sort of stuff you do in the gym, or because especially when you're around male environments and high intensity sort of competition, you get rewarded for that self-hate, and it's just not a great end. You can motivate yourself for a certain point, but if you can release yourself from, like, in your body, you're then filled with all this like completely horrible negative energy. Josh, how have you navigated like peak performance and that release of like, okay, I've got to push myself, get up, Josh, you don't want to, don't stay in bed, like the swell's up now at 4 a.m, like move, keep going, I'm tired, like I want to win. Like, how do you navigate competing and joy?
I think you just watch heaps of Rocky films, and that really gets you through most difficult times. Like, and I mean, there's a lot to be said in those films. You always see that montage when he's coming back from the bottom, and he's in the snow lifting the cart that the huge horse was dragging around to go and fight Dolph Lundgren. So yeah, like I think there's something in all that where you just know that the hard work will pay off. And I mean, shit, it's hard to keep going sometimes. Like it's never really a question. I always kind of told myself in competition as well, like it always comes down to me at the end of the day. So it's up to me to get through it, because I only ever kind of not win because of myself. I rarely get beaten by someone because they're better than me. And that's like in competition and the performance of it. Like if I surf to my absolute best, I will most likely win that heat if I surf to my best. So if I don't surf to my best, I'm not, I'm highly unlikely to win that heat. It doesn't matter what the other guy's doing. It really doesn't.
Yeah, and then it becomes one of my pals played a bunch of professional rugby in Australia, and he's now coaching New Zealand. Like, I reckon he'll potentially be the All Blacks coach in the rugby union team one day. He's the first professional Tongan coach of a franchise globally. But he said to me when we were at university, you control the controllables, which I always thought was like a good lesson to think about. And then the other one, which where I reckon I struggled with my sporting journey, was I reached a point where I wanted to stop hurting people and making their lives suck by winning. Like I was playing cricket.
I don't have that problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you can still do it probably. But I think if you can do some of that stuff, like you said, psychologically, which is, I focus on my own lane, and you can still have a competition, but if there's space and freedom in a pursuit of perfection where you're lovingly competing with yourself because you're interested in how far you can go without having to destroy people. And if the fact is that you win hopefully with grace and class. And they reckon Federer was the biggest, used to have the biggest like dummy spits ever in his teams, like break rackets, swear at everybody, and you kind of watch the way he's learned how to center and pretty gnarly journey.
I think it's also interesting, like just for me at this stage in my life, because I had a bit of a break like Brendo did. I went away and I worked, and I came back in my 30s as an adult with like other interests in my life. And I feel like coming at it from a position of passion with not wanting to get anything out of it now. Like when I compete now, it's only for myself and my own goals, because I've got work that matters just as much as if I win a world title. Like I love my job, and I love that I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to mobilize the whole surfing community to give a shit about climate change and actually do something about it. That's a big job, and I love that challenge. And when I go and get to compete today as I'm 37, soon 38, I'm a kind of an old dude for this sport.
Look about 32.
I just do it for the... Oh, sure, mate. But, like it's just this absolute pleasure I have, and it comes only from my passion for it now. And I'm just very fortunate to have that opportunity. But it also is easy to do it now because it doesn't matter as much as it matters. Like,
it's so complex. Like that theme of that unraveling and releasing allows you to be better. And I think Lily, for your work, I'm really fascinated as to sort of your journey and what keeps moving. I have a question. Have we ever done anything with AIME Apparel with one of your artworks? Have we ever done anything together?
What was that? Sorry, you dropped out.
Have we ever done any AIME Apparel together with any of your artworks?
I don't think so. Like a while ago, we were on a podcast together to talk about like sustainable hoodies, and like the designs you're showing is for that. But yeah, it's really done.
We're looking at a January release, and so of doing some stuff. So maybe we can get in touch after the show. Like the artworks that the gang's been showing is amazing. So we'd love to maybe see if we could profile your artwork and maybe make a shirt or a hoodie or something for summer for people and give them some of that good energy that you're pouring into your artwork. So if you're up for it, maybe we can have a crack at that.
Yeah, I'm up for that. It would be really good. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the show. Lily, Josh, James, everyone else that's dropped in. Sweet to kick it and hang out. And yeah, we're amped to get the op shop rolling. So if you just, you've got some people that you think might be interested in hanging out, just head to our website or head to shop.aimmentoring.com, and there's some really interesting things dropping in there. And yeah, one of them that's going to drop over, it might be up there now or drop in the next couple of days, is Tyson Yunker Porter is sharing some of his carvings from Sand Talk, which are just like huge as a contribution. He's an amazing thinker to dig into. So yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone, for all your joy and all your energy. Saahil, thanks for co-hosting. How'd you go? What score would you give yourself out of 10 in imagination?
10 in imagination, I'd probably give myself a 2 or 3. I need to read.
I think that's fair. I think that's really
book again.
I think about 2 or 3 is exceptional. Actually, I think you did really good.
Got to read your cookbook again.
Yeah. Lesson number 4. All right, everybody. We've got a couple of great musicians that hung out with us last time on the show that are going to finish us up today, and I think that's a wrap.
I woke up this morning set on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind set I woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 Walking and talking with my mind set on freedom. Just walking and talking with my mind set on freedom. Oh, walking and talking with my mind set on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 There ain't no harm in keeping your mind set on freedom. Well, there ain't no harm in keeping your mind set on freedom. There ain't no harm in keeping your mind